Rapper Nicki Minaj was the apparent target of a swatting call last night at around 7 p.m. The LA County Sheriff's Department received a call claiming an assault with a deadly weapon had occurred at the Grammy winner's Hidden Hills residence.
You got to be working with them. As far as I'm concerned, Roc Nation is run by color. You know what I'm saying? Why would people think the government don't run businesses? You don't think by right now that they ain't got a major rapper that's a snitch, that's a informant?
And it's a lot of rappers behind the scene that want to talk about it and they're scared. But sweetheart, I'm not scared. I'm legendary in these streets. You know how many artists I've spoken to behind the scenes that are too afraid to speak up?
So you won't speak. We'll speak, y'all.
I'm gonna speak because y'all can't touch me. I am completely protected. I am protected by God. Y'all don't see that by now?
All right. Remember when Jay-Z said this?
I think we passed kneeling.
Let me play it again. This time, look at the reaction of the lady sat just behind him.
You guys, Nicki Minaj recently revealed real receipts in which she identifies Roc Nation as the perpetrator of a rapper targeting setup operation. Desiree Perez, a former criminal who is now a government informant, and Jay-Z. Nicki is not only speculating, though, as she is connecting Roc Nation to a number of situations, including Casanova's RICO accusations, 6ix9ine's snitch label, and Tory Lanez's sentence. Speaking up against Desiree Perez is what unites them all. As if things could not get any stranger, Desiree's own daughter publicly supported Nicki and said her mother had her put up in a mental hospital for no apparent reason.
The incident started on March 27th of last year.
So legally, I can't go home.
No.
Why?
Demore Hadley says she was lured to that parking lot by someone posing as a potential client for the landscaping company she runs with her then boyfriend, now husband.
She said her mom didn't just play dirty. She went full-blown cartel with it. When she told Desiree she wasn't leaving her husband, that's when things got real grimy.
What could Desiree possibly do to Nicki if she could do it to her own flesh and blood, particularly in light of Nicki's proof leaks that Roc Nation is collaborating with the government? Go seek up Desiree's kid exposing her if you believe this is a stretch. You will see that no significant mainstream media outlet covered it. Nicki is coming out and providing concrete evidence that Roc Nation is collaborating with the federal government for just this reason, and if that is the case, she and any other rappers who speak up are targets.
Most artists have no clue what is happening. Y'all don't know what the feeling we go through. At the workplace, you know how many women, I said this on Twitter, get strategically blackballed out of their positions when they're a little too strong, when they're a little too smart, and get told that they're angry black women and they're having a breakdown?
Okay, so this is what Nicki really said. According to a screenshot she posted, Roc Nation and Desiree Perez have been collaborating with federal officials to keep an eye on musicians and use their legal issues as leverage. Additionally, Desiree is explicitly identified in the screenshot as a federal law enforcement confidential informant. Furthermore, this paper that Nicki shared is not simply a random direct message. Actually, it is taken from a lawsuit that Demore Hadley, Desiree Perez's own daughter, brought. The court documents claimed that Desiree forced Demore into an institution without any justification. Demore even posted body camera footage of her being brought to a mental health facility, and she says Desiree planned the entire incident.
So legally, I can.
No, you cannot.
Why?
Because you're being corrected.
Body camera video shows the moments Broward deputies encouraged Demore Hadley to get into this pickup truck with people she says she didn't know.
You're gonna be in handcuffs, so dog's not gonna come?
Never be in handcuffs.
Okay.
Demore says they took her to a hospital for a mental health evaluation after this doctor signed paperwork saying she was a risk to herself.
What he told me was, we received a call from your family that you tried to OD the night before.
A doctor she says she'd never met before. And according to Demore, it's her own mother who's behind it. In this lawsuit, she claims her mother, Desiree Perez, used unlawful means to have Demore falsely detained under Florida's Baker Act and Marchman Act.
So she's the CEO of Roc Nation, a company that she owns along with Sean Carter, the famous rapper Jay-Z.
Wait till you hear the abhorrent reason why Desiree had her own kid placed in an institution. Demore's complaint alleges that Desiree shattered her marriage to Javon Hadley by using her wealth, influence, influence, and power. According to Desiree, Desiree threatened to use Florida's notorious involuntary psychiatric detention legislation to Baker Act her if she did not divorce Javon. The Florida Mental Health Act of 1971, often known as the Baker Statute, permits courts, police enforcement, or mental health providers to hold someone for up to 72 hours if they are deemed a risk to themselves or others because of a mental disease. The most unsettling aspect is about to happen. Desiree wanted her daughter to file for divorce from her husband, Javon, due to his race. Yes, exactly. The lady Jay-Z personally chose to lead his business. Desiree Perez is racist. This is what is alleged in DeMarie's lawsuit. Pulling DeMarie back, Desiree said, "I'm going to Baker Act you if you stay with that. I will have you committed." Additionally, Desiree provided dozens of pages of medical documents to support her allegation, demonstrating that she was entirely sober and not experiencing any mental health issues at the time of her mother's commitment. DeMarie posted these recordings on X with the following caption: "And to the paid fake Instagram pages, blogs, and fake social media accounts spreading false fabricated stuff. I had blood work, urine screens, 3 different places on separate occasions. A hair follicle test can show over 3 months of history of any drug use, and I have over 10 years of primary care visits. Proves full screens. I have never done drugs. I have never drunk alcohol." How does all of this relate to Nicki Minaj then? For so long, Nicki has been trying to warn people about Desiree Perez and Jay-Z, but nobody has listened, so they have dismissed her warnings and labeled her resentful. Do you recall last year's back and forth between Nicki and Megan Thee Stallion about diss tracks? At that point, Nicki accused Desiree of terminating a number of Roc Nation employees without cause and threatened to reveal her dubious business practices. Nicki wrote, "On the next song, I delve into all the people Desiree allegedly fired for unknown reasons. Other things as well. So many people were blindsided and hurt by her. Allegedly, she's willing to go broke to try to replace me? Fix it, Jesus." However, these workers were not let go without cause. Because they were admirers of Nicki Minaj, they were let go. DeMarie, Desiree's own daughter, is now supporting Nicki's allegations, claiming that Desiree and Roc Nation have done terrible things behind Nicki's back to destroy her. According to DeMarie, Roc Nation also targeted her husband and even her son in a recent interview.
Because she has been through some trauma and some abuse with Roc Nation, with Desiree Perez, with other individuals. They've abused her. They've abused of her platform, they've abused of her talents. They've abused of her freedom of speech. They've abused her family. They've attacked her husband. They've attacked her child. And it's sad. It's really sad.
DeMarie claimed that Desiree and Roc Nation are far more cruel and deadly than most people know, and she likened Nicki's ordeal to her own forced hospitalization.
Roc Nation, my mother, Desiree Perez, all these law firms, Queen and Emanuel, Reed Smith, they have a lot of money and connections and resources. Really sad. Somebody so resourceful, talented, high profile as Nicki Minaj being targeted. It should really scare the American people. It should really scare you guys too, right? Because I'm the daughter, so it's like at this point, if it's happening to me, I think she's really outspoken, and I'm grateful that she's being outspoken on it, because I think she's almost seeing it like, well, it happened to me, it's happening to her, let me speak up on it. Nobody is safe right now.
Nicki replied on X after seeing DeMarie's lawsuit and her interviews. To the PMs who claim it wasn't made clear to your ugly asses, hopefully DeMarie's massive and detailed page-by-page claim gets you all the way caught up. And never call me a liar. Never insinuate it either. Every single angel ever created fights for me at the mere mention of that word as it relates to me. Vengeance is the Lord's. Be careful. No one who conspired on the wrong side will go unpunished for the role they played in this movie. I hope it was all worth it. Nicki went on to affirm that her husband and child were really the targets of Roc Nation, and she said that those in positions of authority are still trying to tear a husband away from his wife and family. This following section is much more crazy. You most likely recall how, beginning in the middle of 2023, Nicki's house was repeatedly swatted. That was hardly a coincidence though. All of it, according to Nicki, was a wicked campaign against her by Roc Nation. The first swatting incident occurred when someone reported Nicki to the police for allegedly abusing her child. However, However, the LAPD conducted a thorough examination upon their arrival and discovered nothing. But a few hours later, they received a second phone informing them that the same home was the scene of a fire.
Earlier this month, officers arrived at Minaj's home around 6 p.m. to investigate a report that Nicki's 3-year-old son was being abused. After examining the toddler, officers determined he was safe and they left. But another call was made in the early morning hours, and around 3 a.m., Minaj and her family were awakened after a fire was reported at her home. Firefighters arrived and found no flames. Swatting is a term used by law enforcement officials used to describe an act of making a false report in order to get a response from police that can involve an armed SWAT team.
However, a few weeks later, Nicki was singled out once more after someone called in a false report claiming that Nicki had been shot. When the police returned, they discovered no signs of a crime. The LA Times report that the LA County Sheriff's Department received a call regarding an incident in Hidden Hills, where the caller stated that a black lady had been shot by a friend. The 911 call was eventually determined to be a swatting incident, though, and a neighbor told the LA Times that police had arrived to Nicki's house.
Rapper Nicki Minaj was the apparent target of a swatting call last night at around 7 p.m. The LA County Sheriff's Department received a call claiming an assault with a deadly weapon had occurred at the Grammy winner's Hidden Hills residence. The caller claimed somebody had shot a black female adult, and 2 suspects wearing all black were still on the property. But when deputies arrived at Minaj's residence, there was no evidence of any crime.
This was obviously planned, repeated, and done to scare Nicki. All of this occurred at the same time as Nicki was openly criticizing Roc Nation and making allusions to a more significant behind-the-scenes activity. You have to wonder if this was all part of the plan when Nicki starts being slapped and people start focusing on her child, and Desiree's daughter claims that Desiree and Roc Nation are prepared to destroy anyone who does not follow their lead. Was there a message from this Roc Nation? Because it no longer feels random. You must also remember that Nicki was singled out because she revealed what no one else dared to publicly state, that Roc Nation is not only a record business, but also a cover for government operations that target rappers. Desiree Perez is a woman with a very questionable history. At the heart of this is Desiree Perez, a previously convicted felon who is now a government informant. In 1994, Desiree was arrested for conspiracy with intent to distribute illicit narcotics and possession of 35 kilograms of cocaine, according to an investigative report on Resist programming. She was accused by federal officials of participating in a criminal scheme that extended from New York to Florida to Puerto Rico, according to court documents the New York Daily News examined. Desiree, however, was not acting by herself. Juan O.G. Perez, her spouse, was also implicated. Additionally, one of Jay-Z's closest buddies is Juan. They had a long history together and founded the 40/40 Club in the middle of the 1990s. Later on, Jay would name Juan the sports president of Roc Nation, and they remain close family friends to this day. Returning to Desiree's criminal history, you may be wondering what transpired when she was discovered to be carrying so many pounds. Due to her flipping and becoming a government informant and even wearing wire to help the FBI apprehend some of her former partners, Desiree was only given 5 years of probation. The New York Daily News reported in 2014 that Desiree was referred to as their star mole by the FBI, who were happy with her performance as an informant. According to the same article, Desiree is a nightclub manager in Manhattan who has a long criminal history and deep ties to hip-hop entrepreneur Jay-Z. She also had a wild and prolonged career as a fugitive and DEA cooperating witness. Even though Desiree has been pardoned, her role as an informant has not ended. Nicki Minaj asserts that Desiree and Jay-Z are both government spies and that Roc Nation is more than just a record label. It is a Fed front that is used to set up musicians and maintain strict government oversight over the whole rap industry. Who are the musicians that Roc Nation is accused of promoting? Well, Tory Lanez is the most apparent example. Although Tory was found guilty in December 2022 of shooting Megan Thee Stallion, the prosecution's evidence had many flaws. Crucial pieces of evidence, such as gunshot residue, contradicted the story that Tory fired the weapon, and fragments purportedly recovered from Megan's foot vanished for no apparent reason. Detective Stogner, who testified during Tory's prosecution, stated that the bullet pieces could not be found, despite a doctor's assertion that he extracted them from Megan's foot. The direction and chain of custody of the bullet questioned by Tory's own camp, and some witnesses even claimed a woman fired the rounds. Additionally, Tory publicly accused Roc Nation of planning his setup before to his punishment.
Tory Lanez goes to jail. They gave y'all all the facts of the juice of Tory Lanez going to jail and this, that, and the third, and Megan getting arrested and da-da-da-da. 2 days after that, I get a call from Roc Nation that says, yo, we heard you're gonna make a statement about what happened, and it'd be in your best interest if you don't make that statement.
Following the guilty conviction, Tory's father erupted outside the courthouse, yelling at cameras that Roc Nation, Jay-Z, and Desiree Perez barter and exchange young men's souls.
Got some names that I want to call. Alex Spiro, Desiree Perez, and the whole wicked system of Roc Nation, including you, Jay-Z. Yes. You who say you rose from the gutter, but you have traded and bartered the souls of young men. And you're still doing it.
However, Tory is not alone. Any musician who resists to come out against Roc Nation faces legal repercussions, as Nicki forewarned. For instance, consider 6ix9ine for working with the feds on his RICO case. He was dragged through the mud and called the ultimate snitch. However, no one ever discusses how he publicly criticized Desiree Perez with Nicki and went against Roc Nation.
The rap game don't want y'all to know certain stuff, right? And I'm gonna expose the whole rap game right now because I got facts, right? This is what I do when I come on live. And shout out to the Queen Nicki, she'll be joining in just a few. She's an executive at Roc Nation. She's an executive at Roc Nation. You see her with Meek Mill. You know what I'm saying? She's an executive at Roc Nation. There she goes right here, right? Let's see who Desiree Perez is, right? The story that spooked Dash revealed how Perez, the wife of longtime Jay-Z wingman Juan Perez, became a cooperating witness for the DEA in the 1990s. Again, this is public information. This is public information.
Another musician with connections to Roc Nation, Casanova, was also charged with federal offenses related to Puerto Rico. The timing of Casanova's lawsuit was also questionable. Only a few months after he began to voice his disapproval of Roc Nation's business methods, the federal government arrived.
Casanova has officially been sentenced for his alleged crimes as a part of the untouchable Gorilla Stone Nation gang. On Tuesday, June 27th, Casanova, whose real name is Caswell Sr., received 188 months or 15 years behind bars from U.S. District Judge Philip P. Halpern.
Even the way his charge was dismissed is consistent with the pattern that Nicki Minaj revealed. Rappers should be contracted, managed, and burned if they do not comply. Here's the crazy part though, that list has more names than Nicki has. Rappers are not the only ones. We are discussing media insiders, managers, judges, and executives. Additionally, we could be seeing the implosion of Roc Nation in real time if Nicki loses everything she has.